Hey, Seth David here from the world famous Nerd Enterprises Incorporated, bringing to you QuickBooks Online for courses, coaching, and training businesses. This is my own business model. This is what I do. I mean, yes, we offer accounting and bookkeeping services to clients, but a big part of what we do is creating courses and trainings and coaching people. I coach lots of other accountants and bookkeepers and some business owners on how to do a better job of putting together and then analyzing your accounting. So what I'm going to show you here is substantially modeled after how I do my very own books for Nerd Enterprises Incorporated. Let's take a look at my screen and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So the first thing that I want to mention is that if you are offering services in terms of courses, coaching, and training, then you likely have the following as your main sort of streams of revenue. We have the courses, of course, if we're doing those. We have coaching plans. Maybe we do one-on-one sessions, and then we also might offer some kind of a community, where people can pay monthly and be part of a community or group. And so we have group coaching. And then there might be other training materials that we sell, templates, PDFs, ebooks, that sort of thing, right? So those are in essence the high-level categories of what we're selling to our customers, right? In essence, that's it. Your offerings may take on many forms, but they'll all boil down to one of these top-level items. Now, in my case, I am using Kajabi for my website, and that is where every single sale is made. So there's going to be a need for a heavy emphasis or focus on your sales channel. How are you making sales? Now, you might just be using QuickBooks Online and invoicing people, right? And maybe for your recurring subscription type services, like for a community, you can set up a sales receipt. You can use QuickBooks Payments and set it up as a recurring monthly, right? So you have to consider what you're using. But in my case, I use Kajabi. So people go onto my site, they sign up for things on my Kajabi site. Kajabi processes the payment, and then we have to figure out how to get that sale transaction into QuickBooks Online. So Kajabi is my sales channel, right? And that's, as I just described, where the sale is made. And I have to figure out how to get that data into QuickBooks Online. And depending on what sales channel you use to process your sales, there may or may not be a direct integration with QuickBooks. In the case of Kajabi, there's not. So we have to do it through an import process, which I do. This article, this video isn't meant to teach you how to do that, but I just want to mention it, that you want to think about that. What I'm going to show you here is what it all needs to look like when it is recorded in QuickBooks Online, so that whatever app you might end up using or whatever kind of integration, you can go into and approach deciding which one to use with this very foundational knowledge of how that app needs to actually post transactions in QuickBooks Online, right? With my upcoming e-commerce course, that's going to be the premise of the first several sections of the course. I'm not going to teach you anything about any apps until later on in the course. It's important to understand the foundation of how these transactions need to get recorded so that you can properly evaluate the apps that you want to use when it comes time to pick one and make sure that they're going to be able to post things the way that you want them. And of course, as always with everything I do, we're going to be using my bulletproof bookkeeping approach, which generally speaking means we're going to put in a little extra effort up front to make sure that everything is ridiculously accurate, right? Bulletproof, if you will. Right? So the first thing we want to look at is, a sale is made. Yay. Right? And that's the first thing that happens in your business is somebody's going to sign up for something, right? After you do all the setup and decide that you're going to go into business and, all of that kind of thing. Okay? So now we have to figure out how to capture that sale in QuickBooks Online. So let's take a look. Before we can start entering a sale, we need to get some things set up, right? So we're going to need to look at our chart of accounts. We're going to need to look at our product list. And generally speaking, we want to keep it simpler on the chart of accounts, right? Keep it high level there and use our product list to describe more of the details. So I might have an income account in the chart of accounts for courses, right? So all the course revenue that I earn goes to that account. But I might have different products in my product list for every different course that I offer, and those all get mapped or linked to the course's income account. So when I create a sales receipt and I choose the particular product for the particular course that I've sold, and that's mapped to course's income, ultimately that sales receipt will post the income to course's income. That's where it'll show up on my profit and loss. And then we have to deal with the other pieces, such as how is it paid for and where does that payment go. And that's the stuff I'm going to teach you throughout the rest of this video. So the first thing I want to make sure you know how to do is I want to make sure you know how to add accounts in QuickBooks Online. And just so you know right up front, you can easily add accounts on the fly. So if I go to create a product and I realize, hey, I didn't create the courses income account yet, you can do it while you're in the dialog creating the product, which is fine, but I want you to see where to go, from the get-go to create new accounts, because I think it's important to be able to look at that. Because before you start creating accounts, or especially before you get into creating an account on the fly, you want to get a good bird's eye view of what do we already have? Do we actually need this account, right? And so I find it much better to be able to get this bird's eye view. You can see I'm in the chart of accounts, right? And in case you missed it, I went down to accounting and the chart of accounts, and just to be ridiculously clear, we're in the accountant's view. So if you click the gear icon over here, it'll say you're reviewing QuickBooks in accountant view. If the other choices, you might be in the business view, right? So if it says business view, then your option here will be to switch to accountant view. And especially if you're getting set up and trying to add accounts to the chart of accounts, I highly recommend you do it from the accountant's view. Much, much easier to do from here. So I look at my income accounts and I can see that I've got, some of these generic accounts are fine. You can't make them inactive because they're kind of like system accounts, right? But I have coaching programs. There's course sales, right? Discounts given in case, that's where I post discounts if I offer them. I have ebook and other product sales, right? Reimbursed expenses. Again, another generic sales of product income. Subscription income, templates, and then training services. Don't worry about unapplied cash payment income. That's another system account, but if you do things properly, it should hopefully never come into play. And then we have uncategorized income, which is where we can park income when we're not sure how to record it, and then you ask an accountant, somebody like me, to help you with that. And then I have workbook sales, because any of you who follows any of my stuff knows that every Friday of almost every month, I go live with another installment, another lesson in a particular course. And one of the things that I do is I offer the live registration for free, and then you can upgrade to get the workbooks, and then you can upgrade to get access to the recordings and essentially the whole course after the fact when it's all said and done. So I've got all my income accounts created here, but let's say you don't, and you need to create a new one. So again, accounting chart of accounts, and at the top right, we'll have this option that says new. And right here, you can create your account. Now, I'm going to assume that those of you who are watching this know nothing about accounting. Those of you who do will have no trouble following along, that's for sure. But the account type for this is going to be income. Okay. The detail type is not that important. But since it's there, I always like to take the time to choose whatever the most appropriate choice is, right? So we'll call this service or fee income. It's not a product. This really is intended, in my opinion, to describe, when we're selling a physical product, right? And that's not what we're doing here. So even if you have digital products that you're selling, don't use this. Use service or fee income, okay? Notice also that when you change the detail type, it updates the name here. So you'll want to do this first, because if you've gone to the trouble of naming it here first and then you go here and change it, you're going to lose your name. And that can be frustrating, right? So just go kind of down and then across. And here I would create, courses, income, and that's that. I'll cancel this since I already have the account. And if I go back down to my income accounts, and I called mine, to be exact, course sales, over here to the right, I can edit. And you'll see that that's exactly how I set mine up. Income, service or fee income, and course sales. So that's how you create a new account in QuickBooks Online, right? Very simple, very straightforward. We pick our account type, we choose the detail type, we name it, and we hit save and close. Now let's look at how to add a new product in QuickBooks Online, okay? So for products, we'll go to sales on our left, and we'll come straight down here to products and services. And that's going to take us to this dialog. Now yours may look very different because you may be getting this set up for the first time. I'm going to show you here what it looks like when it's set up really nice and neat and organized, right? And then of course I'll walk you through how to do all this. So we have admin. There's this product that's called, I just renamed it to Sales Other. because it's one of these system sort of products that gets created and you can't make it inactive. So I just rename it. I call it Sales Other, and it's linked to this income account. I'll never use it, right? It's just I have to park it somewhere, basically. Then I have a category called Coaching Programs, and I have 3 different coaching programs set up here. 97 and Up, which is my mentoring and coaching program for other accounting and bookkeeping professionals. I have my Bulletproof CFO training program, where I train accountants and bookkeepers on how to offer CFO services. And then I have, just as an example, for a one-on-one, 5-hour plan of one-on-one sessions. So I've got that set up in here, also under Coaching Programs. Then I have courses, and I have 2 examples of courses set up. Payment processing, you'll see in a little bit where these come into play and why they're important. Then I have products, so I have my workbook sales, and this doesn't really need to be called workbook sales. That's really the name of the income account, and I was probably just kind of moving fast. So you just saw I edited it. It works the same way as editing an account. I'm going to take the word sales out of there. I'll just call it workbooks, right? And the income account here is workbook sales, okay? I have this set as the default price for workbooks that I sell, because this is pretty much what I always sell them for, is $37. But when in doubt, leave it blank, right? Because that will, first of all, if you're going to be like importing this from an app or using the import process, that I referenced earlier, there's a product called SAS Ant Excel transactions. Bottom line, if you're doing anything other than manually entering this stuff, then you almost want to leave this blank, because you want to make sure that the selling price is what gets pushed in based on the actual sale from whatever that source is, whatever that sales channel is that you're pushing the transactions in from. Okay. In most states, digital products are still not taxable, but you certainly should check the rules in your states. If you go into Avalara's website, they have articles that give you the breakdown of which states require sales tax for digital products, which ones don't. I'm in California. California does not require that you charge sales tax on digital products. Not yet, anyway. And we certainly don't need to indicate that we purchase this from anyone. It's strictly a product that we create and sell. So the setup here is pretty simple. I like having a SKU for everything. So for this, maybe I'll just call it WKBKS, right? You want your SKUs to be at least 3 letters. A lot of the reason for that is because a lot of these apps that you're going to use when you're mapping, if you're trying to map things based on the SKU, it will need at least 3 letters to find it in the search, like within a drop down. So make it at least 3 letters. The category you saw in the layout, those are here, and you can add new ones on the fly like this, right? So if I wanted to create a new category for the workbooks, instead of calling it products, I could call it ebooks and create that on the fly. I'm not going to, but I'll also show you where you can go in and manage all the categories. So I'll hit save and close to update that, okay? And back up here, if I go to more, here's where you can manage your categories. So you can go here and see the complete list of categories. You'll see some that don't really fit the coaching or training model, because I use this company for lots of training videos, right? And you can certainly make these inactive or remove them, if you don't need them anymore. And here's how you create a new category. It's a very simple dialog. You just name it, right? And as you can see here, you can do subcategories if you wanted to, but try and stick with the general rule of keeping it simple, right? So now we know how to set up our products and services, and when you take the time to put them in categories, you can see how nice and neat this looks over here. The other thing I'll show you that's important, because again, even with setting it up the way I'm describing, your view here is still going to look a lot different than mine. I took the time to go here into this gear icon. We're looking at the lower gear icon here that's directly above our products and services table, not the main one. That's for the whole of QuickBooks Online. So this lower gear icon, you go in here, and if I click Show More, you can see where I've checked off what I'm choosing to include here. Right, for sales of digital products like this, I don't need a quantity on hand column. I don't need to see the cost. I don't even care about the sales price, right? For the reasons I mentioned, in most cases, I'm not even going to put the sales price in here, because I'm expecting it's going to get imported from whatever sales channel I actually use to process my sales, right? And so this is it. I keep it real simple. Basically, all I show here is the name, of course, is there. That one you have no choice about. That's got to be there. And then the SKU, the type, and I like to see the income account that it's going to, so I can confirm that it's been set up correctly, right? So all my coaching programs go to coaching programs. Now, notice something interesting here. And this I do, generally speaking, I like to do it this way. I like to kind of line up my categories based on the income accounts that they go to. This is purely my preference, right? But notice here I've got this one going to training services, because at one point I did have a separate area for training services, because I used to do a lot more one-on-one stuff where I would have, like, you can do a 1 hour, 5, 10, or 20 hour plan with me, right? And then recently I said, let's just put this under coaching, because if somebody signs up for 5 hours with me, that's essentially what it's going to be for, is for me to coach you, whether you're the business owner hiring me to coach you on how to fix up or clean up your accounting, or you're another accountant or bookkeeper looking to get my help with how to do this stuff for your own clients. I'm putting it all under the heading of coaching programs, right? And so it's the category is correct. It's under coaching programs, but the income account I'm going to change now to coaching programs. And this is important. Notice what it does here. When I edit an existing product or service and I change its income account, notice what appears here, this little checkbox. Oftentimes you're going to want to check this. What it's asking you essentially is, hey, I've used this product in other transactions. And so if we change this, the question is, do you want me to also update all the other transactions? So if all the other transactions are pointing to training services income, the question is, do I want to leave them there? If I do, then I don't check this off. But if I want to update them so that all the historical activity is now updated and mapped to coaching programs, then I check this off and I click Save and Close. Right? So you just have to think about what do you actually want to do with the previous transactions. Maybe you don't want to update all the historical stuff, right? And by the way, if you've made a mistake, if you went through that dialogue and realized, oh, I made a mistake, I didn't check it off and I meant to, it's really easy. Just go in there, change it to anything else, right? And then change it back to what you want it to be and make sure you check it off that time, and you'll be able to fix it all retroactively that way. So that's a little workaround that I figured out when I made that mistake once. Okay, so when we're setting up any product or service, it's pretty simple what we need to make sure we've done. We need to make sure we've got a name. We want to put a SKU in there. We want to put a category if we're choosing to use those, which again I highly recommend. And of course it has to be mapped to an income account. Once you're done setting up your product, you can hit Save and Close. Right? Now, by the way, for things like coaching programs, if you have coaches that you pay to, help implement these programs, then in those cases, what you might do is you might check off this other option here that says I purchased this product from a vendor, right? And then, so when you pay, like if I had, let's say, one of my bookkeepers offering one-on-one on my behalf, and I'm going to pay them for that, then I have to choose an expense account to go with it when I've recorded that expense. So when I pay them, and that way I can use the same item, so everything runs through this one product or service, all the income I earn, as well as all the payments that I've made, and it makes for some nice reporting. But that's only if I'm actually going to be paying somebody and recording those payments using an item instead of just, booking it straight to the expense account that I would use. Okay, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. It probably doesn't apply. Right? So bottom line, for those who are concerned with that, I want to make sure you know that it's there and you understand, exactly what that means and how to use it. Okay, now the view. Again, we have it nicely organized. And now what I can do is, since let's say I don't want this admin stuff in here, so everything goes into a category. You'll see if you start creating categories and putting some things in categories and others not, it actually makes this view a little messy. It's hard to tell sometimes, like if something's just at the bottom of a category, if it's actually part of that category, right? So my rule is once I start using categories, everything gets a category. And then I can use this filter on the category, and I can say, you know what, just give me, I don't want uncategorized, I want admin, coaching programs, consulting, courses, let's say payment processing, I'll include media. So I'm just checking off the things that I do want to see here, and then I'll click apply, and that kind of cleans up the list, and let me edit that, because I chose admin, which I specifically, that was the main thing I wanted to carve out of this, right? So let's try that again. Admin is unchecked, and we'll click apply, and now it's gone. So it makes it nice that you can kind of just chisel this down now to just the stuff that I want to be able to see and focus on. Okay, so get familiar with this view, because in this kind of a business model, you are going to want to spend some time here analyzing this stuff and making sure that everything's kind of nice and neat and organized, so that ultimately when you record your sales, everything's going to map nicely on your P&L, but you can also get reporting right off of these items, right? And so you can get some really good reporting. There are reports you can run when you go into the general reports area where I can look at sales by product or service, so I can really analyze things. And that's the key, as I mentioned earlier. That's why on the profit and loss, I just want to keep those high-level categories, because if I want detailed reporting, I can get that by going through these products and services and running reports based on that. So this keeps it nice and neat and super organized, and yet I can still get the data that I need when I really need it, right? Now, next thing, we are going to want to think about how we're going to, and if we're going to bring customers into QuickBooks Online in a business model like this. The answer is generally no, right? Whatever system you're using, like I mentioned, I use Kajabi. Kajabi does a beautiful job of managing all of my customers, all their information, and everything they've purchased, and I can get a really good report out of Kajabi that I actually use, and I have this pivot table that I build incrementally every month or so. I just export updated sales data, and I drop it into the pivot table that I have, so I can really analyze things a lot of different ways from there. So I'm not going to want to, import every different customer into QuickBooks Online. So when I go here to customers, and if you're not already in the sales area, just go to sales and click customers. You'll see I've got two customers. I've got Kajabi sales and then PayPal sales. And you'll see in a minute when we go to actually record a transaction, what this is all about, right? So not a lot. So basically there's going to be a customer for each sales channel. Right, so if you're selling on on Teachable or whatever, you can create a customer called Teachable Sales, right? You're not going to want all these customers coming into QuickBooks Online. Every one-off customer who bought some random PDF that you sell, it's not useful information, right? So we keep it real simple as far as that stuff goes. Okay, ready to record a transaction? 20 minutes in, but it's important. You have to get the setup of this before you can understand what we're doing, which we're about to do next, which is to record a transaction. So while I'm here in the sales, I'm going to I'll just click into Kajabi sales. And as I mentioned, you're not necessarily going to do this manually unless you're just getting started and you really only have a few sales a week or something, so it's easy enough to do manually. But you're going to want to post a few sales manually so you get the knowledge down in terms of the structure and you really understand how things get laid out. Like what I'm about to show you, you're going to see how a lot of this comes together. Right? And so, of course, if I want to create a new transaction, I click New Transaction and I go to Sales Receipt. But since I've got one here already, I'm just going to click in here and I'll edit this so that we can walk through how everything sort of comes together. Okay? So the customer, again, is Kajabi Sales, right? I'm going to pick this from the drop-down. When I'm creating an import process, I need to map to the customer, right? And so in a case like this, I don't care who the customer is from the sales channel. All sales are going to get mapped to this one customer that I've got called Kajabi Sales, okay? The billing address just by default pulled in the customer's name because after that it would be looking for the address, but obviously I haven't got that set up. Okay, the date should be the date the sale was made. Okay, not the date that I imported it, not any other date. So when I'm pulling data out of Kajabi, for example, and then I go to import it, that export that I pull out of Kajabi has the date of the sale, and that's the date I'm going to map to my sales receipt date, right? So, and of course, if I am entering manually, then that's the date I should use, is the date that the sale was made. Okay. Then we get to, don't worry about the location. That's another conversation for another day. But we get to the deposit too. So what we're doing here is I've created an account called an other current asset. I actually could and probably should change this to a bank account. I used to do it as other current asset. I've changed the way I like to do that. It doesn't actually make that much difference. But anyway, we're putting it into Kajabi Sales Clearing because at this point of the sale, I may or may not know how this sale was paid for, right? In this case, it could either be PayPal or Stripe. That information is, in fact, available in the export that comes out of Kajabi, but I purposely don't use it, and I'll explain why as I get into the payment part of this. There's a really important reason why. So basically what I'm doing is I'm accumulating all of the sales, all the payments that I've received on every sale into this Kajabi Sales Clearing, because then from here it has to clear out to either PayPal or Stripe. Right? So we need a clearing account in our chart of accounts for every sales channel, and we need a clearing account for each payment method, right? Because the money clears from the sales channel to the payment method clearing, and then from the payment method clearing into our bank account, and along the way we're dealing with any fees that we've incurred and so on, so we can get from the gross sale to the net amount received. And this is what I mean about bulletproof, right? Because I could take shortcuts, I could net things out, and not be this detailed, but that's what we call bullet hole bookkeeping, right? This is bulletproof because I'm tracking every piece of the transaction every step of the way, and the bottom line is every sale, every order that's ever processed, I can reconcile from the gross amount of the sale, what I charged for the program or the product, to the net amount that landed in my bank account per order if I needed to. And that to me is really, really important. Down here, we have the product or service, which of course comes right out of that product or service list that we were looking at a few minutes ago, right? So you'll see this is a sale for the Bulletproof CFO training program. And as I tab over, let me just get to another line so things kind of readjust. And you can see I've got my quantity, my rate, and my total amount. All this is pretty straightforward stuff. So what this is going to do when I save it is it's going to post $2,000 to whichever income account is associated with this product. So let's duplicate my tab so we can kind of audit that, because I really want you to be able to see this all the way through. So I duplicate my tab, I go to Sales and Products and Services, and I'll find Bulletproof CFO. And I can see right here it's going to the income account called Coaching Programs. Perfect. So this $2,000 is going to go to that income account, Coaching Programs. And then the offset is going to be that that same $2,000 is going to get deposited into Kajabi Sales Clearing. I hit Save and Close, and I'm done. It's warning me that I didn't fill out the class. I don't care to in this case, so I'm just going to click right through that. Okay. So now we've got the sale done. We've recorded the income. But as I said, next we have to take a look at the payment and understand how the payment flows through. So let's do that. This is where the PayPal sales comes in. So of course we're assuming that this payment on that sale was made via PayPal and not Stripe. We will also need a customer for Stripe sales, and we'll also need a product and service for that payment method. Okay. So we also create another sales receipt. When you import your payments, and sometimes I do this directly from a PayPal export, because PayPal you can download the monthly statements and map them and import them using the same product, SaaSant. So it makes it really clean. But here's what the PayPal sales receipt looks like. So this is just to record the payment. But notice what it's doing is it's using a product under payment processing Kajabi payments for the sale amount. Okay, we're not duplicating the income here. That might be what it looks like because we're using a sales receipt. But that's why it's important to know how to audit these things so that you can understand exactly what's happening with this. So if I go back to products and services, and here's my payment processing, and there's Kajabi PayPal payments. Over here, you can see it's mapped to Kajabi sales clearing, right? So over here, instead of choosing an income account, I chose that clearing account, which notice is an other current asset. So even though this says it's looking for an income account, you're not locked into that. And what this does is it has the effect of pulling the money. When I use this item, it pulls the money out of Kajabi Sales Clearing, and then it's going to move that money into whatever's here in the deposit to drop down for this sales receipt. So in this case, we're pulling the money. Because we're using this item, we're taking $2,000 out of Kajabi Sales Clearing, and we're depositing it into PayPal. Okay, and we're also dealing with the PayPal fee. This is why I don't want to do it directly on the original sale, because I wouldn't be able to take the fee into account properly, right? Because that part Kajabi doesn't know about. Kajabi just knows, hey, I processed $2,000 with PayPal. We don't see the fee show up until we're looking in the actual PayPal account activity. The PayPal app that you can connect in QuickBooks Online is not good. It will treat this fee as a separate transaction, and it will treat the sale as a separate transaction, but that's not how it comes into PayPal, and that makes reconciling your PayPal account a nightmare, right? So that's why I do it this way very specifically. So we record a sales receipt for PayPal sales. We use that to pull in the amount of the payment, which of course is the same amount of the sale, and then we deduct the fee, and this net amount of $1911.60 is what's going to show up in PayPal on the statement. If you've ever looked at the PayPal export, you'll see it's broken out into 3 columns, but it's all in the same row. You'll see the gross amount, the fees, and the net, right? And so that's why I want it very specifically recorded like this, because it's a little bit more work now, but it saves us a ton of time later on when we're trying to reconcile all of these accounts, right? So I'm going to say, yeah, let's leave without saving because I didn't change anything, or if I did, I didn't intend to. And now that we've got all of this recorded, we've seen how to record a sale, we've seen how to handle the payment. all of that after, of course, seeing how we set everything up. Let's take a look at some reports really quick. And I purposely gutted out this set of books so that we could see the reports based exactly on this one transaction, so you can see how nicely this comes together. So I'll go to reports here. And we're going to run our profit and loss. And over here in the second tab, I'll go back to reports. And let's run our balance sheet, right? Anytime you're recording stuff, especially if you're new at this, but even if you're very experienced, I highly recommend doing this. We always want to take a look at our balance sheet and P&L and make sure that things landed in the right place. So I'm just going to create the reports based on all dates, since this is the only transaction we have. And now you can see how nicely this breaks down. So notice how PayPal shows the right balance of $19.11.60. Okay, I can click in here and I can see the sales receipt that we recorded, and notice how it just shows the net amount. That's what's going to get reconciled to what the PayPal statement shows, right? So again, nice and clean. The Wells Fargo account we didn't do anything to. That's just got our initial opening balance in there. And then the rest of the action is on the profit and loss. Here we have our $2,000 coaching program sale, and here's our payment processing fees. If you notice, we put that in as a negative number on that PayPal payment sales receipt, but of course it shows up as a positive here because it's an expense, right? So that works out perfectly. We've got our $2,000 in coaching programs income. We've got $88.40 in payment processing fees, and we've got our net income based on the net amount of that sale, because again, that's the only thing on the entire set of books. And that, my friends, is how a sale becomes an amount that you receive in your PayPal account. And then there's one thing left to do. Let's say we made no other sales all month, and at some point we went into our PayPal account, and let's go back to the balance sheet. We would want to transfer this $19.11.60 over into our Wells Fargo account. Well, really easy to do. First, of course, we go online and actually do it, right? And then we record that transaction here in QuickBooks. And I'll show you the sort of quick and dirty way. Under other transactions, you can record a transfer, right? I don't love this because you don't get to provide a lot of context, but in this case, I know for sure it's exactly what we need to do. So I'm going to say transfer from PayPal to Wells Fargo, and the amount is going to be $19.11.60, right? And then I'll hit save and close. And that, of course, moved the amount out of PayPal and into the bank account. Really important that you make sure you schedule that transfer, on the PayPal side before you record it in QuickBooks, because if you do this and then more money comes into PayPal and you end up transferring a different amount, that creates a mess. So you have to be very careful about, how you record things. Don't record things based on what you intend to do. Record things based on what you've actually already done. That, my friends, is how to set up your books and record your sales transactions in QuickBooks Online for courses, coaching, and training businesses. As always, if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, feedback, you know where to find me. Just post your comments below wherever you happen to be watching this, and I would be happy to get back to you with the answers as soon as possible.